It takes a very, very strong brand, however, in order to make that happen. And it's not just look and feel, it's actually the perception that you want to create in the market, and then that the customers emulate that perception and do the talking and the walking for you. You know, going back to some of those early days and the discussion outside of tech and the engineering behind the product, what were you talking about when it came to the need for a strong brand?
Brand is something that doesn't happen overnight. And so a lot of the people that come and look at Fireflies and say, obviously this was going to be a great hit. It was 4 years of struggle and getting established. And sometimes there are those days where you think about, I thought we have a pretty good product. Why are people not receiving it in the same way? And so that was something that actually took a lot of time, and it happens incrementally. And those first couple years is extremely difficult, especially if you're doing product-led growth. You're not using a heavy sales-led motion. It really starts one customer at a time, making them happy, and then that starts to compound. I really do believe SaaS is compounding. It's exponential, but the brand stuff doesn't happen overnight. But I also believe if you can make 100 people really happy and in love with your product, versus 1 million people that sort of use you or product and then the next day forget about it. You don't want to be a hype cycle like product. There were a lot of companies that came out during the pandemic that were catered towards just the pandemic use cases. And that ended up skyrocketing. Some really good companies that have raised tons of money, were valued in billions, today ended up, disappearing. So when we were in the pandemic and we had launched, we definitely got an up spike in usage, adoption, and interest. So that helped us with our launch during January of 2020.
What a time.
Everyone was using video conferencing, everyone was remote, and it helped us ease into the launch. But we made a conscious decision then that, hey, we know that Fireflies is not just a pandemic remote product. It has to be used in every place and time. And it's valuable fundamentally. You're coming for the AI note taker, but really you're building this magnificent knowledge base of all of your team's conversations. So there is really a bigger SaaS enterprise value add here, and we have to work towards that mission and build the brand towards that, rather than, we never even called ourselves a COVID tool or this is a must-have remote tool. So that was just something that the market told us at that time. And it's funny because when we started building Fireflies, there was no pandemic, there was no remote stuff. So we had to build for the real world, the office at that time. But going back to your point about brand, it really starts one customer at a time. It then starts amplifying, but you also have to sustain it so that it's not like a fad or a hype cycle.